What is going on YouTube? This is Acid Root. So I'm going to review the Greatest Hits album by No Doubt. Basically, this album is called The Singles 1992 to 2003, and it came out in late 2003. This came out a couple years after their Rocksteady album from 2001, and they had kind of taken a little bit of a break, and they were getting ready to go on hiatus and stuff. And after this project, they really didn't put out anything until their 2012 album, which was the most recent album that they've done. But this is a particular hit. I feel like this is kind of an extra kind of valve of prime music from No Doubt. This is a really pretty large hit single, the It's My Life cover that they did on this album. I remember that song from back in the day, hearing it on like MTV and stuff. Pretty vivid hit, I would definitely have to say. Definitely continue to enjoy it today. And it's kind of an underpromoted one. But the thing about like some of these, this is an amalgamation of basically three of their albums, which would be Tragic Kingdom, Return to Saturn, and Rocksteady. The only album I don't really know by No Doubt like that, so these songs are kind of new to me as I reviewed them today, is Return to Saturn from the year 2000. Now, I am eventually going to review that because I did like most of the singles off that album, but I would have to say, I mean, for the most part, I'll go ahead and say some of these. Like, I liked all 5 of the songs that were from Tragic Kingdom. I liked all 4 of the songs that were from Rocksteady from 2001, and I liked 3 out of 4 of the songs from Return to Saturn. So that would be basically 9 songs on here plus one extra song, which was the It's My Life cover, the new song. So that leaves 2 other songs that I didn't enjoy, and I'll get to those as time goes along. But just to kind of say, this is a pretty classic project, definite, easy kind of stuff. I'm glad that No Doubt decided to put a new song on here. I definitely like it when artists will drop a new song with Greatest Hits album that just gives it that extra bite to make it that much more convincing. I mean, it's definitely something to be expected. This album went double platinum, so it did get some noise to it. This really happens to kind of be the thing. It was just kind of an extra thing as far as that went. That it's just good to see that No Doubt wasn't quite out of their prime just yet after taking a couple years off from Rocksteady, because Rocksteady really tried like some electronic and more hip hop oriented type stuff with that album, with songs like Hella Good and Hey Baby and some of those type songs. It just had a more kind of electronic kind of oriented type feel, and that's kind of what It's My Life kind of does as far as that kind of goes. But it's just kind of, I feel like these songs on here is just a real good smash. I mean, this album's going to get like a high score. There's not really much to complain about this project. I mean, for the most part, if you're complaining a whole bunch about greatest hits, it probably means that there's a bigger questionnaire about the greatest hits spectrum of some of those. But this is definitely an album where I'm not doing such a thing. So this is kind of thing. They easily filled out an album chock full of hits. It has 15 songs on here, and I wound up liking 13 out of 15. So that's kind of the thing. So I'll go ahead and talk about the single from this album. Basically, the single from this album is the It's My Life cover, and that was a cover song from It's My Life was a cover of a 1980s song by Talk Talk, and It's My Life. So to talk about this song, it's real hooky. Gwen Stefani really nails this song as far as that kind of goes. It's not so much like a rock band kind of song. I mean, I can see it kind of being somewhat rock, but for the most part, this feels a lot more like a Gwen Stefani solo song, more so than a song that really has much of like band fanfare on here. Just a lot more electronic, really feels like some night out music, just like a late night at a restaurant or a venue. So It's My Life kind of feels like night out music, late night restaurant and venue type bop. And this is a minor club hit, I would have to say. It's not minor because it's not a good song, but just kind of like, it is a club song, but it just is not quite as like dance heavy and quite as energized. I mean, it has good energy about this song, but it's just not conveyed as like a true dance club kind of bop and just that sheer kind of craziness. This is a lot more of like a sultry and just kind of more like sedate and just kind of piercing kind of song. I definitely feel like the lyrics in this song are just a lot more piercing. They have that kind of 80s dramatic type feel of them. Not so much where it's cheesy like some stuff you would think possibly out of the 80s, but it just kind of has like that piercing kind of valve towards it, where it's just a lot more kind of like just dramatic in terms of the context of how it goes. But this is great night out music, and it really does feel like a late night at a restaurant, like 9:30, 10 p.m., something like that, or a night venue, something like that. Just easy kind of song for when you're stepping out at night. I mean, it's from 2003, that's 20 years ago, but I think this is just kind of a forgotten about gem to kind of dig up and say, oh yeah, this is a good highlight to kind of hear. When you think of songs like Don't Speak or Hey Baby or like Hella Good or some of those type ones are typical more songs, or Just a Girl, some of those are just more in the night oriented sense. This is a pretty classic song to kind of play. Gwen Stefani really nailed this song, and the rest of the band kind of did a great job with organizing the song the way it kind of went. So it did crack like the top 10 of the Billboard 100. So it definitely was a pretty large hit late 2003, early 2004. Pretty much a bigger song out of the 2000s in terms of pop and electronic type music as far as that kind of goes. I definitely recommend it if you truly don't know a thing about like this song or something. It's a new song, so definitely, yeah. To kind of talk about like the songs on this album, like I said, I recommend 13 songs on here out of 15. So the only two songs I don't recommend would just be Trapped in a Box and then the song New. So Trapped in a Box is from No Doubt's 1992 album, which it's another one I'm going to have to look into to see what they're about, because they had been around since like the grunge days and that type of stuff. And then the only other song I didn't enjoy was just New, which was a single from Return to Saturn. But apart from that, I liked every other song. So to talk about some of these, like I feel like just to go through and burn through the list real quick, like I just reviewed No Doubt's Tragic Kingdom, so the Tragic Kingdom songs are pretty easy to kind of remember and just kind of get a refreshed memory about. So like Just a Girl, for example, this is just kind of a breezy, kind of summer frolicking kind of tune, definitely kind of bop-ish and hooky. Just has that real kind of flashy summer energy for just going around and just kind of strip mall and summer commute and that type of stuff as far as that kind of goes. I feel like Sunday Morning from Tragic Kingdom's another one. This is like a wake and bake jam. This really good for like some early morning kind of smoke sessions. It's just very contagious morning peps. I definitely like that song quite a bit. It's just interesting. It kind of has a reggaeton feel, like I said in the Tragic Kingdom review. It's a really good reggaeton kind of wake and bake kind of tune for like some pretty contagious morning pep. So just as far as that kind of goes. Spiderwebs is like an evening pub highlight. This is just kind of one that's kind of where if Just a Girl was kind of more strip mall and shopping type day commute, I feel like Spiderwebs is a lot more evening commute, just in terms of being at a night venue or a pub or something like that. It's just a dusky kind of highlight, just kind of out on the town kind of energy, just drinks in hand, beer mugs in hand, just kind of appreciating some live music and dancing and that type of stuff as far as that kind of goes. Excuse Me Mister is another one like that. This one's a little bit more in a night venue type feel. This has that kind of flash towards it. This has a real quick pace, and it's just jivey kind of pub music. It's just jivey kind of song, and just has like that paced kind of pub music type feel towards it. Gwen Stefani's pretty like paced on the song, so she's pretty lively in the song as far as that kind of goes. It's just kind of a nice one. It's from Tragic Kingdom, so it's definitely kind of, it's not quite as electronic and as contemporary as Rocksteady, but it does kind of have some jive towards it. Don't Speak is, of course, continues to be a highlight. I would probably say, even out of like these greatest hits on here, that these are all the singles. This still stands strong as one of the best songs on this project, even out of just a pure album of singles. This really does well. It continues to be a dark highlight. It's just a dark, dusky kind of summer stealer. This is a song that will steal your summer just by how much it can probably get plays and that type of stuff. It's just very hooky, and it's just vividly shrill. It has some vividly shrill kind of vibes towards it. Just an overall highlight. Yes, that's the singles from Tragic Kingdom. The singles from Rocksteady, which is the next album. I reviewed this album on Acid Roots back in 2015, so you can find that review. But my opinion, of course, in 7 years has changed. So I want to say I didn't like the song Running back in the, I want to say I didn't like the fourth single Running back in the day. I at least liked 3 out of 4 of the singles, I want to say, back in 2015. I'm going to go ahead and say I like all 4 of them now, which I do. It's not even like I'm halfway saying it or putting kind of half-assed kind of emphasis in it. I like all 4 of the singles. So Hella Good is like a really nice, sleek kind of dance club hit. This has some real rave energy. It's an electronic kind of jam, and it's just a later at night kind of jam compared to Hey Baby, which, speaking of Hey Baby, this is like a nice 7, 8 p.m. kind of club song. Just kind of an entry kind of song for kicking things off and that sort of thing. Real kind of hooky. And this has like a kind of light reggae tinge on there that just kind of works pretty well. So that's a pretty good one. But Hella Good is like, I would say Hella Good's like the older brother or older sister of that particular song as far as that kind of goes. Just kind of one that if you played Hey Baby at 7, 8 p.m., you'd probably play Hella Good at 9, 10, 11, something like that. So it's got some real carnivorous energy as far as that goes. But both of those songs from Rocksteady are like a good 1-2 punch, and then things kind of switch up a bit with Underneath It All. This is just kind of like a cousin of Sunday Morning. Feels like a somewhat wake and bake jam, but not quite as emphasis as much on smoking. I mean, it's just kind of more of a reggae ton type tune, just a lazy kind of sprawling summer smash. This one just took over the summer back in the early 2000s and that type of stuff. This is pretty good morning fare. I feel like this is just kind of like something that Bob Marley would do, that just kind of has like those morning kind of fares. It's just appreciating the sunlight and the outdoors and that type of stuff. Just in the hot weather, it's just kind of a lazy. I mean, this is another one that can steal the summer depending upon what kind of mood you're in. So that's just a nice one. And then Running's the fourth single off of Rocksteady, and this is another highlight. And I really have not listened to this song a bunch. This is not one I gave very much chance, but I'm glad I listened to it now because it is a pretty good hit. It's just kind of an adult contemporary song, very much a slow dance kind of song. Doesn't have like the pep of like the other singles, and it's not quite a summer type tune either. It's just kind of like a song that would kind of be at a dance club, but pretty much when the night's winding down and the romance starts kicking in and just that sort of stuff, or it gets more kind of like it just gets more emphasized and more emotional and that type of stuff. So it's just kind of a slow dance kind of song, more meaningful. The social vibe, this has more meaningful social vibes, and the emphasis is a little bit stronger on this one. It's just kind of one with a more powerful draw as far as that kind of goes. There's definitely romantic of like the songs on here, at least out of the singles from Rocksteady. So it's just a good one. And then I'm going to talk about like the songs from Return to Saturn because I don't know these that well. So to talk about the songs from Return to Saturn, so Bathwater is a pretty nice one. This is definitely one for like date night and kind of has like bickerish kind of energy. This is a really good evening bop, and it's also good for like food music. Just being at a restaurant, places where you get wings, those type stuff, just getting a burger, something like that. Just late night kind of fanfare as far as picking up some food and some beer and just kind of the schmoozing and that type of stuff as far as stepping out and kind of more of a night sense, and just kind of a more saucy romantic kind of sense. It just really kind of has like that sauntering kind of energy about it. Definitely like that one. And then Simple Kind of Life was the highest charting song off of Return to Saturn. This is one that connected in America. I mean, sometimes no doubt crests in like international markets, but this is one where once again they charted higher in America with these particular songs. But just like, I mean, Tragic Kingdom kind of had that problem of just kind of being all over the place as far as America or international who accepts it. But Simple Kind of Life was an American song that really connected in America, and this one really feels like a cousin of Don't Speak. It just kind of has like a mid-pace kind of feel towards it. This kind of has like a mid-pace kind of feel towards it. It's a gauzy and moody kind of song in terms of the production on there. It just really has like that kind of summer malaise attached to it, and it just has like a real moody kind of feel. It's a little bit, it's about the same kind of moodiness of Don't Speak, but just a little bit peppier, but it does have a pretty lasting hook. So this is kind of like a good, somewhat of a sequel to Don't Speak. If you like that energy and you just miss like a summer stealer like that just kind of connected and just kind of had that dark kind of phased out kind of energy, this is the song I would go for because this was just an overall highlight. Just overall really like the production of Simple Kind of Life. It's another standout. This is definitely another highlight that I definitely appreciate the vibe. This is one that I would definitely purchase Return to Saturn for, I would have to say. Ex-Girlfriend is like a hazy kind of nightclub boiler. Definitely a song for like some hot weather at night. Just has that kind of energy towards it, and it's a very saucy song. Do appreciate this kind of one. It's just kind of got like the night type feels of just being kind of like a sultry song just intended for like a nightclub, but not quite so dance oriented, but just kind of like a more flirty type song, just kind of in the more brewingness, just kind of, it's kind of a brewing and just kind of female ruminating kind of song. I like the concept of it, but it's just an overall good one. I definitely like the concept of this one. It's just very kind of leery and like a flirty kind of sense. That's just a nice highlight as far as that kind of goes. Definitely another highlight off of Return to Saturn that would make me want to purchase this album. I mean, I like the concept of what I saw from the singles from Return to Saturn. It makes it pretty sparky just because I feel like it's kind of an in-between step between Tragic Kingdom and Rocksteady, where Rocksteady was a lot more contemporary and electronic, but Tragic Kingdom was a lot more kind of summer sprawling and just kind of pub crawl kind of related and just kind of more night venue and that sort of stuff. It was just interesting, just not electronic and night clubs. I mean, it was pubs and night venues, but not necessarily electronic and nightclubs and dance clubs. So this kind of thing. This is kind of an in-between sense where some of these songs from Return to Saturn kind of do that. So that's just good. And then, yeah, I already talked about It's My Life, just a real kind of hooky, kind of night out kind of song, just kind of a sophisticated, just kind of effectual kind of club bop, and it's just kind of a minor club hit the way it kind of has its power in doing it. It's just definite late night kind of music. It's an easy kind of forgotten about one. So talk about the two songs I didn't enjoy. Like I really didn't like Trapped in a Box just because I feel like the energy behind that one was just kind of off-putting, and I felt like the energy behind Trapped in a Box was just kind of like, it's kind of a sarcastic song, but it just kind of felt like an awkward kind of song to kind of listen to as far as when you'd want to. It just was very flippant kind of energy and just didn't match like the pace of what probably needed to happen. I just can't think of too many recreational times where that would be a good choice of something to listen to. It's just kind of an odd one. Like I know like when Lane Staley and Alice in Chains did Man in the Box, that was a little bit more powerful and this had a more strong emphasis of making a song like that. But Trapped in a Box just didn't have near the energy of that sort of subject in terms of doing it. So that was just kind of the thing. But, and then I didn't really like New. I mean, I didn't really like the production on that one. That one's just kind of a mess of a song that just didn't connect as much with me. I think it was trying to be like a club song, but it just was trying to be like a rock club song where they brought the band along. It was like trying to make like a nightclub kind of song with like a more rock oriented type feel, and the mixture of that just didn't turn out as well as I'd like it to. But that's about the thing. So out of 13 out of 15 songs on here, me liking at least 13 singles by No Doubt just off of 4 albums is pretty damn good. So I just would have to say I'm going to give this album a 10 out of 10. The Social Score gets a 10 out of 10 also because they have some pretty effectual stuff. Tragic Kingdom and its kind of pub crawling and summer type feels. Return to Saturn with its like exploring more nightclub and just kind of more saucy kind of moments, just for a more adamant nightlife kind of feels. And then I also like the contemporary kind of electronic and dance and nightclub kind of feels for the most part of like Rocksteady. So it's just kind of good oriented type stuff. And I just kind of feel like if you throw in some reggae tinge kind of songs on top of that, there's just some good overall moments that just nail it. So it gets a 10 score, 10 social, and the just overall is quite the effectual project. Definitely one I would pick up if you don't want to buy 4 No Doubt albums or 5 of them. Just get these, and it has most of the singles. It just is missing a couple of singles off of Tragic Kingdom. It's not like it's like, I mean, those were good songs, but it's not like it's a colossal fail that just because those songs aren't on there. So that's definitely kind of the thing. So in terms of the future, like No Doubt has been quiet since 2012. I am going to review some more of their projects, but this is definitely quite the boiler, and I definitely enjoyed this project. So yeah.